Okay, so here we are back again in Achievement Hunter. What was I doing? I was cooking up all this steak. So this time, I was fortunate enough that I've actually got myself a decent way around. Got a decent amount of wood as well, which is always good. We're going to do, yeah, let's see why not really. Let's just do a stone pickaxe, and maybe I won't even need to use anything else. Because maybe I can find what level did I say? That's 79. So that's not too bad. Let me just turn my music. Oh, everything's already up. Cool. Yeah, I mean, I know I can use TNT and I can do the set world spawn. I'll do the set world spawn. Unfortunately, one thing I did notice though, and that was obviously like, I mean, last episode I was just sort of rebuilding everything that had gone wrong in the previous episode, and this episode I'm going to be trying to get, actually make more routes towards getting to where I actually was before. I want to do things in a slightly more cautious way, in a more structured way, and that's kind of what I'm going to be going for, I think. So what I could do is something like this. Get myself some stone stairs, because in a sense it's like not such a bad idea, and I really would like to do things here in a smarter kind of way. So yeah, I think that's what I'm going to do. I don't want to run into too many mobs. Let's just check that I'm on normal still. Yeah. One other thing that I was thinking about is to perhaps be sprinting all the time. In this situation, this is like the one situation where sprinting all the time is not actually a good idea. But I could literally just put because the thing is, it's mapped to like left control, but that is just, it's not very good. And at first, I actually thought at first it was actually some kind of toggle switch, but that isn't actually the case, which is a bit annoying. It's literally just hold it down and then you sprint, which means if I did set it to W, I could just be sprinting all the time, which is probably the only real way it can be used. Because to have to hold it down and then do it is not comfortable at all. It doesn't really matter what button you set it to, because it's not going to feel right. I suppose if you've never played Minecraft before, it might do, but yeah, obviously I'm not really in that bracket. So yeah, what I'd like to do, to be honest, if I'm really being honest, I think I really do want to get diamonds. So I'm going to just go to diamond level. I'm going to really have I'm going to put a lot of torches. Let's get a few more, because we are kind of running out. But luckily I've got enough wood to last me this time. I made sure in the last episode really was, I really needed to do that with that episode, last episode. And then it was good to have a talk about creeper biology as well. And yeah, I may as well talk about something else I'm quite interested in. And it's kind of like robots. Now robots are pretty interesting, because there's obviously a whole range of robots. I kind of like the I mean, this means there's bipedal robots. Yeah, there's obviously the balancing robots. The way a robot balances is actually very important, because often when you try and like push a robot over, what you're actually doing there is, okay, that's a bit of a lag spike. But yeah, often when you try and push a robot over, you're putting a large amount of force on one very small piece of the robot, which often doesn't work too well. Can I get up here? I'm always going to run into the same problem, aren't I? Let's get rid of this block here. I want to make this stairway pretty decent. But yeah, I mean, There's a whole sort of range of robots really, and I think that, you know, and for the way it looks at the moment, anyways, that most companies are in a position where they're about, they're pushing, they're knocking on the door of being able to move as well as a human. And obviously, one of the things you always have to remember about like walking and stuff is that, or running for that matter, is that there is like the ideal state would be, you know, to run at like infinite speed with no chance of falling over. And you always have to look at that sort of thing. Ah, we've got some coal. But yeah, they seem to be pushing the door. That, and then there's of course there's like I didn't actually get any iron, which is disappointing. So I guess we'll just make one more stone. But yeah, to be able to, I mean, and that's the thing. It's like there's so many different elements to robots that you have to consider. I mean, you know, there's some like mine colony a lot with sort of synthetic furs. That's quite an important aspect. I believe paint stripping was like an important consideration for robots as well. Doing that sort of stuff, like build work and stuff in like, is also very important. And of course, those unicycle ones are cool. And then, I mean, when you think about a unicycle sort of robot, or yeah, I mean, obviously, if it's only going to have one leg, it has to be, the foot has to be a wheel, I guess. Well, it either has to be a wheel, doesn't it, or it has to be very. It has to be. I mean, a lot of the yeah, or it has to be a very large surface area, like a big flat square sort of thing. I suppose a big fat wheel would work as well. And these are all the sort of considerations you have to think about, these balancing issues when you're doing robots. But it's a very cool field. One of the problems is like you can't make the robots too small. Like the smallest you can get are like those bioloids from yeah. And basically, they use very, very small motors. The advantage of using a small motor, of course, is well, there's not really any. I mean, yeah, I mean, the thing is, yeah, like there are advantages to using motors of any size, I guess, depending on the scale. Obviously, with larger ones, it's going to cost more and stuff. But yeah, even so, where am I at? 65 still. Wow, I've got a long way to go. Let's go a bit further then. Try not to get too much lag if I can avoid it. But you know, it's just one of those things, the lag, I think. It's like, sometimes you just don't get it at all, and sometimes you get a lot. And this time I think I'm going to get a decent amount. Just to this kind of lag. But yeah, and I think, to be honest, it's probably dependent on the time of day that I'm going on as well. Okay, we're getting somewhere. I'd like to run into a spawner if I could, get some good stuff. I really just want those diamonds. I want to get the enchantment stuff. I want to make it so that, you know, I'm in a strong position, basically. But yeah, I mean, robots are pretty cool. And there's many different aspects. And it kind of reminds me a lot of, because yeah, what I was saying about the bioloids is that, yeah, the reason they're that size and no smaller is because I don't believe that if they're any smaller than that, the motors are going to be powerful enough to actually make them move. So you're not going to get robots that are smaller than that operate, you know, as you know, basically in a humanoid fashion. Because obviously they're like, you know, those robots are very, Yeah, I mean they're basically just humanoid. Often the small robots, they look like someone kind of stocky and short, whereas like the bigger robots are more sort of a tall guy. I mean, obviously you could make a stocky big robot. Sometimes when I look at what's it called? There's a very famous one. I think it's called. It's gone through many iterations. I think like it went. Yeah, I think it's called Big Cat now, perhaps. I think that's a quadruped or an octopus. Because that's the thing. You always have this trade-off, don't you, between stability and I guess movement speed, maybe. Yeah, you would think it's probably movement speed that the trade-off is. I mean, I don't really think about it that much, but I think that is how it is. I don't know. I mean, then you've got the whole robot operating systems now. What else you got? You've got there's the Apple robot, which is that little ball. And of course you've got all the the open source sort of stuff, all the open source builds. Kind of similar in a way to Minecraft, the way that they do all the open source builds and all that stuff. I can't actually get up here though, so I'm going to have to do that. And wow, I cannot even get through here. That's a shame. But alright, what do I need? Another pickaxe. Yeah, I mean that is the funny thing, I guess, is that I'm alright for here, I think. Get rid of this one. I'll make some more stairs in a minute. Let's see if I can actually get somewhere here. May as well just yeah, because that's the thing about making a staircase. It's like if you've got like a preset idea of what you want the staircase to look like. The difference between being a robot and being a human is that being a human, you might do it the way that I'm doing it. You know, just get rid of some of the ceiling that's blocking your way. You know, a little bit at a time. Whereas a robot would do, you know, 5 sort of, however many actions it might be. I think I actually did this with the turtle. One of my computer craft episodes way back here, sort of the second quarter of the year. I mean, and that's another. I mean, that's another thing. And there's also these robot operating systems, and they introduce libraries where you can where they try and cover all sorts of aspects of the robot. But yeah, I mean, and one of the interesting things, of course, is the robot development at the moment. You've got two main the virtual reality thing, because obviously virtual reality, there's no real, you know, there's no real separation between virtual reality and robots, really. It's kind of pretty well accepted. I mean, it's pretty obvious that they're kind of part of the same thing in a way. And that they're going to be, you know, if you're into realistically, I mean, yeah, it might seem like that, you know, like Oculus or Cast AR are like part of something different. Well, Cast AR not so much, because that is clearly very, very much centered on. Well, no, they both kind of got the same sort of problems. They're both trying to be sort of like a gaming thing, but realistically, robots. Yeah. The point is, right, and my problem with both of these sort of systems is that there is basically no tactile feedback. And of course, yeah, everyone said how amazing they are and stuff, but realistically, anything like that, without tactile feedback, without good air circulation, is going to just give you a headache. Because basically, if you're going to be completely immersed in a screen, you're going to have to make sure that the air circulation you've got is like, I mean, put it this way, it's basically going to be a lot more comfortable if you're in the middle of like a hurricane or something. Iron, finally. And that's really the problem. And I think and robotics is really going to change that. Possibly through the use of I think probably through well, I know that there's sort of, you get speaker cones, don't you, that can emit air, and they can emit pulses of air. Certain what's the word for that? It might be frequency. There might also be a word for the power. But basically, yeah, the power of it is going to be like how did this get to be 3 wide? Oh, it's not 3 wide. But yeah, you're going to need to get a very, very good amount of airflow. I mean, the thing about omnidirectional treadmills is they probably won't, because the thing is, right, even if you can't understand what the brain's doing, which I seriously doubt anyone will be able to do for probably about, at least 100 years. Let's just put it at that. I would guess it would be more like 500 years. But yeah, that is basically the big problem here. But it may be possible to perhaps like trick the leg or trick limbs. It may be possible to send signals to the brain that are basically, by using people perhaps with like phantom limb syndrome and stuff like that. Because there's no point really trying to work on the brain. I see all these tests of people like, we said this, this word, and then we noticed this reaction in the brain. That is a waste of time, I think. I think that's absolutely hopeless, and basically, yeah. You're just kind of completely useless to do that. I think there's no benefit to doing that at all. I don't think that's got any chance of success or any chance of coming up with anything useful, because I don't think that is. I think the brain is far too complex, and also because I don't think the people that would need to understand it even exist. I don't think there's much. In general, with science stuff, there's not a huge amount of sort of synergy over, people that are really, really strong in computer science or people that are really strong in biology. There's not a huge amount of, synergy between these people, and it's not, and it's not going to happen really, because it's just, I just don't think that's going to happen. But anyway, like I say, I think the best way to do a proper virtual reality experience will be with speaker cones, sending, creating tactile pulses, and possibly something of the Oculus Cast AR advanced configuration with some kind of and then some kind of, and this bit would probably be quite unethical. So you'd basically have to, look at, I'm not sure. Obviously I don't really know what results you would look at with this phantom leg stuff, but clearly the answer is in there, and then find a way to pulse that through to the brain. But realistically, you're going to have to be, you're going to have to be much more into it than, anyone could try Oculus Rift. But to really go full into virtual reality, you're going to have to be really willing to, at least in the early days, to sacrifice your health. And there's nothing you can do about that, because So yes, that's my views on that issue. Yeah, I haven't really done much apart from just dig this hole and talk about stuff, but I think it's kind of like quite interesting stuff I'm talking about, and I mean, it is interesting stuff, really. So yeah, I think I'm going to leave it there. I still haven't found much. I found some iron at least. Let's try and get closer to getting fully geared up in the next episode. Until then, thanks for watching.